Hello everybody, welcome back to the Pixel Therapy channel, the home of great games and even better vibes. Now today's an exciting day because we've got a new build of iRacing and we also have the Mercedes W12. Now I've loaded the W12 up on Watkins Glen and I'm going to give it a spin, but to make the video a little more interesting and it's not just another video of me going around in circles, what I've decided to do is I'll take this opportunity to discuss how I like to tune my motion system with different cars and tracks. It's a very simple principle, but I hope that if I run through this using the W12, you guys can pick up some tips and tricks on it, and hopefully I can share my settings with you guys, and you guys can give them a try. Now, if you like my settings or you have settings that are slightly different, you can either share those in my Discord that's in the link below, or you can come watch me on Twitch and you can actually discuss that. Now, with my Discord community, we talk about motion amongst many other things, and in some instances, I've actually had personal phone calls with people who have helped them set up their own motion systems. Now, regarding Twitch, I stream mostly iRacing ACC, and we do some community races as well. And I'm online on Friday, Saturday nights, as well as during the afternoon sometimes as well. So come hang out and come and say hello. Now, without dragging this out, please watch the video, and if you find it useful, please like and subscribe. Sweet, I will see you on track. Now, the first thing that you want to do when you're setting up your motion rig is to actually measure the distance between your left and your right actuators. So you measure this distance from the center of each actuator and you measure it in millimeters. Once you have that number, you then want to keep a record of the stroke of your actual actuator. So whether it's a 100 millimeter actuator or it's a 150 millimeter stroke. Then you take these two numbers and you go into the SRS software. Once you're in the SRS software, you come over here to setup. So you click setup and you go right here to where you've got your motion. So this will have your brand of motion, whether it is PT actuator or it is the SFX 100 or whatever motion system you're using. 4 actuators, 2 in the front, 2 at the rear. And then you click on this cog on the right hand side. This will come over here and you need to input these two numbers that you have. The first number is the distance that you measured between the left and the right actuator over here, and you put that number in millimeters. The second number is the stroke or the length of your actuator movement going up and down, and you put that number here in millimeters. When you hit calculate, it will give you a recommended max angle. Now, the reason we're doing this is that we want to ensure that there is a smooth operation of the motion and it doesn't feel very aggressive and too janky. Once you get this max number, you hit apply all and then it will apply it to all of the software that you use, whether it is iRacing, ACC or anything, because this is how it's going to know how much pitch, roll and everything and how to calculate the algorithm for the most responsive movement that you can get without being overly jerky. Once you've done that, then you can go on track and you can start running laps and fine-tuning it to the way that you like. So we'll do that next. So here we are sitting inside the pits at Watkins Glen, and we're in the brand new Mercedes W12 car. Now, essentially when I'm tuning my car, I try and work with a more informative motion feel. So because of that, I tend to err towards the caution when I'm setting up my motion. And essentially, it's more of a process that I tend to do with all my cars. And I try and keep it really, really simple. So the first thing that I do is because I have access to the licensed version of the Sim Race Studio software, I'm able to actually use what they call Intelli Tune. And this is when you use the software, you turn it on, and you run laps for about 3 minutes, clean laps, and then the software will pretty much try and do most of the hard work for you. After which you then come in and then you fine tune it to your desire. So we'll go through that process right now on Watkins Glen. So you'll notice when we come here onto the motion software, under the motion settings, that iRacing will automatically load up iRacing and the vehicle that you're in. So first of all, what we'll do is we will click the Intelli Tune.
Welcome to the Intelli Tune wizard. Click Next to start.
It'll tell you to click Next.
Telemetry capture starting in 10, 9, 8.
Then you jump
7,
in and you drive.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So the idea here is to run clean laps. You're not trying to get super fast. You're just trying to cover as much of the track as possible in a clean manner. That will allow the software to pick up the bumps, the curbs, the pitch of the track, and how much sway or traction loss it should be putting through the system as you're taking the corners. So at this point, don't expect the motion to be amazing. It's just data collecting.
Telemetry capture completed. Please go back to SRS.
So once the software has actually collected all of the telemetry after about 3 minutes worth of running, you're now able to go back to it and then select your different presets. And I'll show you what that looks like. So here we are with the presets. And what the system will do is it'll have gone through and suggested what it reckons are the presets under a medium setting, an aggressive setting, and a soft setting. Personally, my philosophy is I like to start off with the soft setting, and then if it's not enough, I can always increase it and bring it way up after that. So we'll select the soft setting, and we'll hit apply. Now you'll notice that already off the bat, it'll pre-install most of the settings that we did before, such as your max angle. It'll generally have your overall smoothing at 50, and it'll have your boost at 5. But these are the numbers in the sliders that we really want to start messing with going down. So the very first thing I tend to do off the bat is that I like to reduce the spike filter level over here. Now what the spike filter does is, for any movement that is within the 4mm threshold shown over here, your actuator will move at full capacity. Once the actuator movement goes beyond that 4mm or whatever number we set over here, you will find that it will then kick in a spike filter that will soften the movement. Now, I believe that Formula 1 cars have got a very limited suspension travel. I don't think that the suspension travel in a Formula 1 car goes above 4mm. In fact, let me rephrase that. I feel that the feeling I get in the actuators with that 4mm range without the spike filter is a little too harsh and a little too aggressive. So what I personally like to do is I will drop this until I hit about the 3mm mark. So that'll either be around 2.98mm or maybe 304. So I'll do that here and take it down to about 304. So that's the first thing that I do off the bat. After having done that, what I'll do is I'll then take the car and take it to the track. So let's do that next. Right, so all the changes that I've done after using Intelli Tune is I've set up the spike filter to about 3mm and I've picked the soft preset. And already I can tell you that this feels very different from a GT3 car, as in the motion is quite subtle. There is very little body roll coming through. And it's a very tight feeling. With the vehicle, which I would expect from a Formula 1 car that doesn't have a lot of body roll. The track surface is coming through reasonably well. So I can feel the bumps on the road texture in the surface. That's coming through the motion. Again, there isn't a sensation of roll when I go back and forth. Not a unrealistic one, you know? What I'm not getting along that very fast right-hand turn is I'm not getting a lot of lateral force sensation. I don't want to call it G-force. It's not really G-force. I'm not getting that sensation. So what I'll do is I'll go back to my settings and have a look at this. So the numbers in the black boxes, before we start fiddling with things, are essentially numbers that are used by the algorithm to reduce the effect of that slider or the importance of that force within the algorithm. So for example, if you look at your over here, because my motion system has got 4 actuators and it doesn't have traction loss and all the other stuff that allow it to go sideways, which is what we want to do is we want to get rid of that effect. So the first thing you do is you increase the number in the black box. What that does is it makes the denominator so big, it divides that effect out of the algorithm that calculates the motion. Then the second thing you do is you drop the slider all the way to 0. So it completely negates the yaw effect in my platform. And that's primarily because my platform, when we were setting it up, we set it up as 4 actuators without a traction loss and surge. So if you're using Intelli Tune, I would avoid touching the numbers in the black box. The numbers in the black box are a very aggressive way of tuning your motion. So I would say it's kind of like using a jackhammer, whereas using the sliders, you're using more of a chisel to shape away what you want. So back here, I personally like it when I feel a little more sway or like that lateral force when I'm going around corners. So I'm going to increase mine from an 11 to say about 15 or yeah, let's do a 14 to begin with. Okay, then I'm going to jump in and give it a try. Now already, when I start taking the corner, I can almost feel the motion rig leaning in the opposite direction. In that, one gives me the sensation that I'm turning at a really fast speed, but also it kind of makes me connected with the rear end. And if I'm losing traction, I kind of feel it tug a little away in the opposite direction, which is what I was looking for. So with my philosophy, it's information that I'm looking for, not so much to be thrown around inside the motion rig. Especially here, when you go left, right, left, you can actually feel the knife edge that you're sort of riding as you're shifting sides with that sway. So that's pretty cool. And it's allowed me to push the car just that little bit more, because now, based on the sensation I'm getting from my backside, I know where the limit is and how much downforce I have, that I'm getting more confident and I'm pushing a little further, as you can tell with my lap times. Again, it's not making me faster, but I think I'm getting more information. I understand where the limits of adhesion are a lot better. Okay, now let's see what else we can mess with. So I'm liking the G-Sway at 14. I notice I'm not getting enough push when I hit the brakes. So in other words, when I step on the brakes, I want to feel the braking sensation, and I will use the amount of travel with the braking sensation as a way for me to gauge how deep I'm braking into a corner. And based off that movement and how hard I'm pressing on the pedal, I'll be able to vary the depth at which I brake into different particular corners. So let's work on that setting. So we've currently got our G-Sway at 14, which I like. The acceleration is how much the car pulls back when you hit the gas. To me, that's an immersion sensation. You're either hitting the gas or you're not. It pulling you back is for you to feel as though, oh, that's amazing. But you can't really use that information in racing. However, information I do think is more important is how well you brake and how deep into braking you are. So I like to bring this up from a 10 to about a 12, and I'll swap this one down to about a 10. Yeah, I'll do it at about 12. That way it's not overly exaggerated, and we'll give it a try in the sim. Right, so we've changed our braking surge sensation. So when we go deep into the brakes at the hairpin, I want to feel my body being pushed forward as you would if you're braking in a car. And based on that, there we go. The car pitches forward a lot more. I'm aware as to how deep or how hard I'm braking in a particular corner. And as I do the laps, I'm able then to ensure that I get some form of consistency, because I know what each corner should feel like in terms of me being pushed forward. You see, that is coming through a lot more clearly, and the corners are starting to physically feel different as I hit different braking pressures. Same thing when I ease off the braking pressure, I can feel my body shift back, and I'm able to tell at what rates I'm trail braking through the corner. Now, what are my thoughts on the vehicle itself? It's an open wheel car, and much like open wheel cars with high downforce, they're like rockets. They stick to the surface and they just kind of go. The brakes are really good. You can do a lot of late braking. You can go on the power really aggressively, especially with this setup, and I don't feel the back end wanting to go out. Is it the most exciting car? No. But it feels like a vehicle that has been built to be... I know people... I need to be careful with my words here, because I want to say easy to drive. And I don't want people to jump in the comments and say Formula 1 cars are not easy to drive. No, I'm not saying it's easy to drive. But if I were a Formula 1 driver with the skill to drive it, I would want a car that's easier than most to drive. One where the back end is predictable when I put the power down. It sticks and it's got good downforce with good top speed. And this is what it feels like. Now, that's fantastic if you're in a Formula 1 championship. However, when you're sim racing and playing pretend cars, it does lead to a really fast but boring car to drive. Boring in the sense, especially in the context in which I'm driving it, where I'm hot lapping. Because I'm just literally turning the steering wheel, putting the foot down, and I'm braking, and I'm not really having any issues. If I were to be racing in this car, however, I think the excitement would come from the on-track battle, because most people would be confident in this car that people would start making moves that they don't normally make with other vehicles for fear of, crashing or going off track. So I think it might be great for racing, because people will be able to go side by side and actually control the vehicle. So it depends. It depends what it's like once this car is live and people are racing it, as to how popular the races are and what sort of moves. But compared to the F3, this is a lot more planted than the F3 vehicle. It's a lot faster. You feel like you're in control a lot more, and hopefully that translates to better racing online. So with that being said, that's my process for actually tuning. This is just sort of like a rough guide to get you guys started, as motion is highly subjective. So what I'll do now is I will actually go back to the software and let you guys have a look at my setups that I have. That way, it'll allow you guys to be able to screenshot it and try it out for yourselves. Now, remember, this is sort of like a good baseline is motion setups are very subjective, and it depends on what you like and your driving style and so many other things. But if you guys have got a setup that's slightly different, feel free to join our Discord to share it. And also, I will be streaming on Twitch, so you can come on board. We can discuss this a little more, and we can even hang out. So let me show you what the motion settings are, and you guys can take a screenshot. And after that, I will say thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Peace.